And I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes. And this is actually perfect because this is the part that John will, because we're live, but we haven't let anyone in. So John will cut this. Okay, I see a couple of people trickling in. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a couple of minutes. And this is where I miss John and his music. What song?
John does always have the best music for our guests as they're waiting.
We'll give it about probably one more minute and then we'll get started. And for those in the audience too, this will be recorded. So if you had teacher friends who were also signed up for this or anybody you know who wanted more information on this, we will have a recording and we'll send that out after the webinar. And you're free to email that to whoever you want. Alrighty, I gave it the 2 minutes. I think that's a good wait time. So I just want to start off by welcoming everybody to this fabulous webinar hosted by myself, Molly Kauffman. I am an outreach and engagement coordinator here at PDK International and Educators Rising, joined by my fabulous colleague, Debbie Weaver Balough. I am so excited to host this webinar today for Miss Debbie to talk to us all about using micro-credentials to showcase student skills within your education pathways. Oop, excuse me, of course, a little kerfuffle to start us off. There we go. So, for those of you that are unfamiliar, Educators Rising is a national career and technical student organization that can help schools develop your current students into future educators. So, whether that's through an educator pathway, an after school chapter, they all look a little bit different, but we do this through a 5 C's approach. And so, what that means is schools will typically start off with what we call chapters or after school. Clubs, as some call them. And schools will typically start with those with just one teacher and one student, and then a number of resources are made available to that teacher leader who hosts this chapter to support those students' future careers and interests in the education profession. So, in addition to that, we have additional resources to support a CTE, career technical education and training pathway. And so this includes not only our standards-based curriculum that we have developed with the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, but also what we're going to talk about today, which is our micro credentials. And both of those are aligned to our Educators Rising standards. So, who are we and what do we do? So, Educators Rising offers a solution that is based on your community, your school district's needs. And our organization actually started as Future Teachers of America back in the 1930s. And just last year, we celebrated 10 years as Educators Rising, which is what we rebranded ourselves to. We have officially 40 state and regional affiliations, which can all look different in each state. And we have over 20,000 student members across the nation, majority of which are in high school, but we also have students in middle school and at the collegiate level. And so, one of the things that we know is helpful in some schools and some education pathways is offering a closure point for a CTE program. And so these micro credentials that we are going to chat about today are an evidence-based method to assess your students and see if they are ready and have the skills needed as a future teacher. And so this is where I am going to hand it off to Miss Debbie. And I will give you permission.
I say if you want to just maybe stop
Oh,
share your screen, I'm going to share mine.
yes, ma'am. And there we go. We'll have Debbie, and she is going to take over from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Molly. So, again, for those who maybe have not attended one of these webinars before, we like to let you know what sort of resources that we provide as as part of our national organization. And I get the great privilege every day to work with teacher leaders across the country as the national implementation manager who helps with the rollout of program resources. So, specifically the Educators Rising curriculum, that is an optional resources that some schools and districts and even states will purchase for their schools so that they have all of the resources they might need on a curriculum level to have a powerful pathway, whether it's the pathway of like a CTSO, a CTE program that's through their school that's going to have the kids in classes, or where they're going to use our curriculum as part of their CTSO club, like chapter work. So we just want to make sure always that we provide options for those who are looking for them. But by all means, you can actually still start a chapter and not use our Educators Rising curriculum, but we certainly do get lots of great feedback about the power of these resources. So, whatever you decide to do, whether you work with us using our curriculum or whether you have your own, having instructional resources is key, right? So, you need to always check with your state, find out what sort of resources are required to meet the state standards and the framework demands of your CTE program as well. That's very important as well. Some of our schools and districts actually use both. They will use resources that have been provided by their state, and then they'll also purchase the Educators Rising curriculum to supplement the resources that they have, because they sometimes either feel like there are gaps that need to be filled in, or that they just, again, really enjoy the resources that we're able to provide for them. The next thing that's a very powerful part of your pathway program is providing high value learning experiences for your students. Now, this is what we're talking about today, because one of the high value learning experiences is clinical experiences, and that's where they get to do some like student teaching and apprenticeship work and really, doing observations, being in a point of service, where they get to kind of experience the life of being an educator. But as also a part of that, having opportunities for them to have the lived experiences of building their skills can come in the form of giving them projects. And the projects can be part of our, the competitions that we provide for conference, which actually we'll talk about in just a second, or micro-credentials. And micro-credentials are not only really valuable as a project, but they actually can then earn some credentials that can then go on to serve them when they're, putting them on a resume or, building out their college application even. So, and then of course, as part of the work that we do our organization, we provide opportunities for them to compete, show what they know, demonstrate their passion for this work, and they get a chance to compete in loads of different, I mean, there's something like 27 different competitions and contests that they get to have an opportunity at the regional and state level. And then those who perform really well at those levels have an opportunity to go on to our national conference, which we're very excited is in Portland, Oregon this year. Woo! We're taking it to the West Coast. So it's going to be, again, another fabulous experience where if you need a little boost of inspiration and a feeling of renewed hope for the education process, go to this conference. These kids will blow your mind. You will know that the future is bright when you are in the room with these 4,000 educational leaders and students. Majority of that 4,000 is student led. So we really do try to build community for our students through these opportunities. But no doubt about it, if you're looking at these three things here across the screen, the one in the middle, giving them the learning experiences, this is really the power of building a great pathway of, a pipeline of future educators. So, in looking at what the micro credentials that we're able to provide for you. What do they look like? We have five. So the five micro credentials are broken down into these bullet points here. Lesson design is going to give your kids an opportunity to actually look at what are the practices that skilled educators use to pull together a lesson, effectively addressing state standards, learning outcomes, and just again, really pulling together what will be a meaningful learning experience. In effective classroom leadership, now they get a chance to kind of take a look at that other element of classroom management, setting clear expectations. What does this look like? Because we also know that each one of these different bullet points, these are key skills that need to be developed for strong educators. Then they'll move into one called collaboration. Now, remember, I'm saying they're moving into, they could technically do these in any order. They could start with collaboration and then move over to lesson. So you can have them do these in any order. They could do all five of them or just one of them, but collaboration is where they actually get a chance to see how great, successful educators work with each other. We incorporate ideas from one another. We also build strategies for creating, really meaningful learning environments for our kids by thinking through and solving problems together. So that's a really powerful one. Formative assessment, really, I always like to tell my future educators when I get a chance to talk to them that formative assessments is teaching. This is the whole idea of a feedback loop. You get a chance to do some direct instruction, use some formative assessments to ascertain, did they get it? Do they need remediation? Where do we go from here? And then reteach when needed, do remediation, or it's time to move on to the next step. So helping our future educators understand the power of formative assessments and that it's not just quizzes and tests, right? That actually it's everything. It's every conversation that we have to determine whether a student is getting it or not. So our students who do this micro-credential are going to learn about that. And then finally, learner engagement. No doubt about it. We want to make sure our rising educators know about how to hook and sustain learner engagement throughout a learning experience. So as you can see, they do cover kind of the whole gambit, right? Well, it's tough to say the whole gambit. Like, you need our curriculum if you want to cover the whole gambit. We go into everything into the curriculum. But these five micro credentials take everything that they are learning about pedagogy and then tying it into these opportunities to demonstrate those skills, to demonstrate their learning. And so from there, when they're doing these micro credentials, we have a partner called Digital Promise. And I want to show you a quick 50-second quick little thing to explain like what does their micro credential platform like entail? Like what are your students going to need to do if they do one of these?
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere, at school, at work, or throughout life. But sharing your skills hasn't always been easy. Until now. Introducing Digital Promises Micro Credentials. These digital badges showcase the skills you've gained and how you demonstrated them. You can choose one micro credential or stack a whole set. Just collect the required evidence, submit it online for assessment, and once you pass, you'll earn a shareable, verifiable badge. You're in control. Decide how and with whom to share it, all while keeping your privacy intact. Personalized learning, stronger resumes, college credits, career opportunities. It's all in your hands. Check out Digital Promises Micro Credential platform today.
So that quick 50 seconds is actually pretty powerful because it even explains one of the things I'm going to talk about next, which is, what can your students get from this? But before I show you what they can get from this, let's like actually take a look at what do they have to do in order to earn the micro credential. So first, they will go into our platform, which I'm going to take you in. This is what the platform looks like. So they will go into this platform, which they will access through the teacher will give them the link to let them access this through their own portal. So here you'll see our five micro credentials that I had just gone through a second ago. They'll do so as quick and easy as just clicking on the link. When they go in here, you can see this $75 apply. That is actually only once they're ready to submit for assessment. So to actually do the project, though, they'll just scroll down underneath and it details everything they're going to need to do to be able to engage in this micro-credential. So you can see here it has like suggested activities for how they'll collect some of their artifacts. In this particular one, this is the collaboration one. So notice that one of the suggested activities, in order for them to hit that credential, not credential, but the deliverable they need to bring, is to have at least one conversation during planning with a peer or a group of peers, and at least one conversation during planning with an expert or educator mentor, and then one online interaction during planning with a professional network. Very interesting how this like expands their community. And then they're going to pick the brains of other smart, engaged educators to help them develop a quality lesson plan. So notice how it really lays out like what they're going to need to do to effectively get through this micro-credential. Then it starts to get into more specifics as you go down a little bit further. Explains obviously too how it is aligned to standards and what they're going to be able to take away from this. And then, of course, for how to actually earn the micro-credential, it'll outline what their submission is going to be evaluated upon. So in this, they do have to, so let me scroll down. I can show you a little bit easier here. First, the digital promise, I shouldn't say digital promise gives them, we at Educators Rising put this together of like, these are the research articles that we would recommend for this. These are the resources that we would say, this is a must for being able to hit this credential. You need to go through and do some reading, do some research, do some outreach. So we've provided all of the links that they'll need and all the resources that they'll need here. They'll also have all of their places for where they do their collaboration submission form, right? So they'll have all of the forms are linked here, the collaboration tools that they'll need to use for this particular micro-credential, and then getting down into sample unit and lesson plans, sample videos of former and action, and then finally, what do those work examples look like that they need to turn in? You know, what is the lesson plan and the collaborative narrative? You know, what do those look like to turn in? You might also notice though, just above here, it says show the rubric. So it outlines what we're looking for a highly skilled, a commendable, a developing or an emerging assessment, what they're going to get on that. Obviously, if they are not performing high enough, they just won't pass that assessment. So there is that opportunity, there is that situation, I guess, that could come up where maybe the student does not get the micro-credential because our assessors, they take them very, very seriously. And again, when I say our assessors here is through Digital Promise. Like we have partnered with this organization because they are like again, the kings of micro-credential. They're an amazing organization where this is what they do all day, every day. So they're very, very good at this. So that's why you can see it's really beautifully written out in collaboration with Digital Promise. They said, this is what we're going to need from you to create this experience for your students. And so then we provided what we saw as the necessary rubrics, anything that they're going to need to do as their deliverables. And then ultimately, it's outlined. I mean, it is really thorough. I actually like to call these when I'm doing trainings with teachers, I'm like, kind of think of it as a capstone project. Because, when you're doing a little project, that could be something that could be done in a week. This is something that is typically done over a month or 3 months, depending on how much time you're giving the student to go out into the field and have those conversations, do the lesson planning, get out and actually do the work. So it can be done in a small amount of time as like a few weeks, but really, I like to say, let them actually fully engage in this. Like this should be probably at least a 2 month or 3 month experience, if you're really giving them all of the time necessary. Now, with these, you can also even get like a printable version of the micro-credential so that it's really easy to have the PDF of, here's the PDF of everything that's expected of you and everything that you would need. And for some teachers, some of them use this part of it as like, we're not going to necessarily have the student paid to be assessed for this one. This is going to be like a practice project that we do in class. And then they're going to choose which one that they want to be fully assessed on. So there's a lot of really cool options for how you do that. So just wanted to kind of, obviously we can get into the weeds on all the different ways that you can use these, but I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to see that it's very thorough. Like it gives everything that's needed. And here's why. Because along with the curriculum. So we embed these again as kind of those capstone projects where they can be just used as assignments, but big assignments, right? To assess skills and the development of skills. But some of our, oh, and this just even goes a little further the more I click. Just notice our curriculum is rich. Okay. We've got lots of they come in like a PowerPoint format where they're ready to roll. But obviously, I like to say we give you the lesson plan, and then you would need to prep that plan and just bring it to life. So it's not just meant to be like a slideshow. These are highly engaging, deeply focused discussions and activities, and it's really a way to develop your kids' skills. We also want the students to get involved in work-based learning, so that is critical. That's where they're going to be doing micro-credentials, being out in the field, doing clinical experiences, and having that like hands-on, on-the-job training. But here's where it can go next level with micro-credentials. We have agreements actually with a number of colleges and universities where they're accepting our micro-credentials as credit toward their education majors. So students who are completing these micro-credentials and completing pathway programs at their schools can actually earn between like 9 and 21 credits for college, and not just elective credits. These are like for their education program. So that's like the power of this, the full 5 micro-credential stack is usually where they're going to get those high level like number of dual credits. If they're only completing one, then they might get 3 credits or something. But so typically this is very personalized, and so the discussions can be had of like, oh, we work with a nearby university. Could we set this up? Let's talk. Like, this is something we do all the time to help support your school and your students in completing pedagogical work that actually translates into credits for college. Because our goal is simple. We want to make sure we're not just like harnessing their passion at a young age, we're developing them into our future educators. It's not just like, the spark is already lit, but then like what do we do to actually get them through the full pathway and get them back into our classrooms to be amazing future educators for society? So that is the in a nutshell of micro credentials. You can tell I'm like, oh, I want to go so much deeper, but we just don't have time. So I'm
Yeah.
going to pass it back over to Molly. But I will say this, if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat. We answer every question that comes in. So if it's not on this call, we'll get back with you to let you know answers.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Debbie. I also put in the chat, if you're interested in learning more about the curriculum, please feel free to reach out to us at community@educatorsrising.org. Or even if you just have questions about what Debbie chatted about with the micro credentials, they truly are. If you weren't convinced after that they're a really wonderful resource to prepare future educators, then I'm not sure how else we could convince you. Maybe if we
I,
spent
I mean, I would invite them though. If you're not convinced, let's get on a call because
yeah, if you're not
I'd be
convinced,
very curious to know. I
Debbie
mean,
and
they're
I
amazing.
can spend, 5 or 6 hours explaining all of it. No.
Now
But
listen, because we're classroom teachers by trade, okay? Like we get
so
it.
I was gonna say that I had that spark in me. But I went a non-traditional route to become a teacher. And so things like this would have prepared me right off the bat
Yeah.
to not only have that passion, but have the knowledge that I didn't have to start off with. So I think, that's something. And so, all that to say, this Grow Your Own playbook that is up on our screen right now, we know that not everyone's program is at the same place. Some people are just starting out their own program, others are just starting to think about starting a program. But no matter where you're at, please, 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 if you have not downloaded this playbook, it is on our website. You can reach out to that same email that I dropped in the chat and we will send it to you. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a grow your own playbook. It is all in one place, the bare bones of what it takes to have a successful grow your own program in your school, in your district. And it really makes it more digestible and easier to understand. It just takes one teacher and one student to start a chapter with us at Educators Rising. And from there, you have the resources, the tools, you have people like us to support you through growing your program in your district. So if you are registered for the webinar, you'll receive the link afterwards. If you are just joining us, please feel free again to ask us for that link via email. We're happy to send it to you. And so we are going to close out. We've got one last little tidbit for you. We always like to show this at the very end. We have a quote from one of our state and regional coordinators, Dr. Lindsay Jensen. And it's a powerful quote that I always like to refer back to. But she always says that when districts reach out for hiring, they want to find candidates who were in Educators Rising because they know that those students are more established and ready to go than the standard educator. And Lindsay was the 2018 Teacher of the Year in Illinois. She has built out a fantastic program across the state of Illinois. So I trust what she is saying there. So yeah, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. If you, again, are interested in getting the recording for this, it will be on our website. But Clint also dropped the link to the Grow Your Own Playbook in the chat. And we are just so happy to be talking about things that we're clearly passionate about. And yeah, just want to thank everyone for being here. And thank you, Debbie. That was great.
Oh, good. Thanks. It's always a pleasure to come on and get to talk about the work that we're doing. And I'm telling you, don't feel that you have to do any of this work alone. This is what we do every day. We can help you with resources. We are literally just a click or a phone call away. So please reach out if you have any questions about micro-credentials or anything, any part of the pathway. This is what we're really passionate about, and we want to be a support to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. And we hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Bye, everyone.